Dr. Stevens had left, so I was talking to Kim Shefchik and just kind of asked who she recommended, and she mentioned Dr. Lyerly, and I met her and loved her. So then I brought in both of you, I think. I think I talked to both of you right away and said, here's our girl.
I actually took the test, I ran to work, and I called Kim. Didn't even tell my husband. Told her I took a test and I passed. And I was a little surprised, even though we had talked about it. And she walked me through everything, and then that's when I started. Obviously, my first appointment was with Lyerly. It was something I wasn't sure about. I mean, I loved being an aunt and going through it with my sisters, but never really thought it was something I ever saw myself doing. And I loved it. They made everything just easy. And the day of her birth, I never really knew what I wanted for, because everybody said have a birth plan, have a birth plan. My plan is to get the baby out. That is the plan. And the day ended up exactly how I wanted it. I just didn't know it. It was laid back, everybody was great. We were laughing and telling jokes. And
you actually had Dr. Lyerly,
yes.
Which doesn't always happen.
There was just a moment when her heartbeat slowed and my blood pressure tanked, and I didn't panic because she had it. Dr. Lyerly had it all under control. We didn't, both my husband and I, we didn't worry about it. She had it.
Well, they always, every time I'd go there, they'd always are big into, make sure you check, do self-breast exams and everything. So I always did, but I just thought there's no family history, so it's not going to happen, right? And then I found one on my own in the shower, and I went in and saw Dr. Lyerly, and she was just kind of like, well, let's just do a mammogram just to be on the safe side. And she thought she was being overly aggressive with it just because there is no breast cancer in my family, but she's like, let's just do it. It won't hurt, let's just find out. I found I had stage 3 breast cancer. So if it wasn't for her, I don't know where it would be at that point if I would have waited any longer, but.
There's sometimes when you go to a doctor and I think they have so much training that when they talk to you, it tends to be a little bit up here. And especially when we were dealing with, when we were dealing with everything Bria was going through, you're not looking for someone who's going to talk over your head and use all sorts of medical jargon when you're just trying to understand the news you were just delivered. And they did an outstanding job of just really bringing it down so that we could all understand it, we could all grasp it, and again, just sticking with us. And if we had a question at a random time, they answered it.
It felt like they were being real.
Yeah.
They weren't being secretive about something they were going to tell you.
There was no forcing of emotions or anything
No
like
fluff.
that. It was.
That's what we were dealing with.
Yeah, and they answered the questions too of what that means after, after treatment, after everything, because as we found out,
That's a whole different.
it's gonna stick with you for forever, and what that means, what it means going forward. I know I was shocked to hear that news. I was a little surprised because when they told us that what it meant for Jennifer and myself, I'm like, well, of course it affects us. Bria's our sister. Like, no, it actually affects you differently. You need a different procedure. I'm like, oh, didn't realize that.
And they started talking about the genetics piece of it. It was pretty funny because Sarah, I think your comment was, I'm here for support. What is this? You don't always think about how it affects everybody.
In an odd way, you almost look forward, you look forward to it because they're,
Well, let's not get crazy.
well, no, not for the procedures. That's not fun. But it's the people. It's going and seeing the people. I mean, even the receptionists I had, especially when you're on your weekly appointments, you're with the baby, they're like, you're back again. I said, absolutely. And you just talk about, pick right up where you left off the week before.
So I had both my boys through there. I had Kim with one of them. I wish she could have delivered him, but she doesn't do that piece. So I didn't have Lyerly then. I wish I would have, especially after your experience, but they were all very good. And then I had issues later on that I brought Lyerly. That's when I started seeing Dr. Lyerly in for with, as you get older, I guess, issues with your periods and things where it gets heavy, and they offered up a solution and took them up on it, and I think their name kind of does say it all, because the fact that they can help you with the baby, you with cancer, and me with all my questions with getting older and what's happening and what is this, and You can ask them things. It's a very open conversation. They know what they're talking about. You know, it makes you feel very comfortable and can give you guidance, I guess, as you're going through different changes.
Because they've been through the whole having babies and all the issues that women can have. I mean, it's not that a guy doesn't know what they're doing, but it's nice knowing that it's other people that have been going through like the same things.
Same life experience.
Yeah,
They know what
yeah.
it feels like. They know what they can relate better to what you're talking about.
You know, when you describe something, they have a better, I think, concept of what you're talking about than if it were a guy.
I always recommend them, but I think from being from a small town, I always look for somebody who's personable and remembers. I don't want to be, nobody wants to be just a number or a chart, right? And I never feel that way there. So I've sent many people there just because our experiences have been so great, even especially through what you went through.
Yeah,
The
I
fact that
mean-
they were so aggressive with it, I think
Exactly.
is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, had anybody hesitated, I don't, you know, mine was an aggressive form of cancer, so I mean, it could have spread fast, and with her being aggressive with it, I was able to be caught in time and treated, so I definitely would recommend them for anyone.
But if you want the best of the best, that's where you're gonna go. Why mess around?